We just saw Dial of
Just
Destruction. Initial thoughts?
We're confused.
Well, yeah, we
confused.
don't get it. But we didn't hate it. I didn't hate it as much
No.
as I thought.
No, didn't hate it as much.
No,
No, I don't know.
but I didn't love it.
Yeah. Like we're gonna need like 10 hours. No,
Yeah.
what did I say? 20 hours to figure it out. You know,
Digest.
to digest.
I gotta go to bed and see what happens in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Gotta sleep on it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we'll let you know. All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Nerd Holes. Will and I saw Dial of Destiny Friday night, and now today is Sunday. So we saw it, and we kind of give ourselves the weekend to kind of mull it over in our brains a little bit. It's hard to believe we started this like months ago. Like I remember we filmed our little like indie intro back like in spring almost.
Yeah. Like just. Yeah. Like right before it, even like everything like budded.
Yeah,
We did it like we did in the beginning, like literally the first Sunday in April.
that's hard to believe. That's what happens though when we do these like deep dive things. We say, "Oh, well, we'll do that later on when that comes out," and then now here we are talking about it. It's over.
Yep.
So if you haven't seen,
Crazy.
we went through chronologically and watched all the Indiana Jones movies leading up till Dial of Destiny. So if you haven't watched those, go back and watch them. They're all pretty good. They're all pretty entertaining, I think.
Yeah.
I still think our favorite is
kind
Last Crusade.
Oh yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I think the most surprising thing was, except for a couple things like we talked about, like even Crystal Skull wasn't quite as bad as we both remembered.
Yeah, I remember it being a lot worse, honestly. So that's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
This movie had like a lot of like controversy behind it, and I've gone like both ways of thinking. Like, should we do like a lighthearted episode? Should we not do a lighthearted episode? And I think where I kind of fell in is like, let's just talk about it, you know?
Okay.
Like we normally would. Because we don't ever get like super serious. I mean, we get passionate about stuff, but I mean, we're not going to sit here and talk badly about something just because, you know, everybody else is or any of that stuff. There are things in this movie that we did not like at all.
Right.
But it's not we're not hating on the movie just because it's fun to hate on a movie and because everybody else is,
No,
you know what I mean?
No, that's stupid. Yeah, that's stupid. No, I would never do that.
Yeah.
You make your own opinions. You make your own opinions.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like if we weren't doing this rewatch and if I had heard a lot of the things like leading up to the premiere, like I probably wouldn't have gone to see the movie. And in a way, I kind of think that's the wrong attitude. I think like you need to see what critics are saying, but you also don't need to like put everything on what critics are saying. You got to experience a movie on your own. So that being said, I don't think this movie is as bad as it could have been, or as
No,
everyone has said it is.
no, not at all. No, no, not even close.
Just no, just like with
People
Crystal
are like
Skull,
really,
yeah,
really, yeah,
people are really hating on it. And there's kind of this thing in Hollywood where they're kind of pushing stuff on the audience, and I didn't like overly feel that way in this movie. Like specifically, I didn't feel like they're really trying to
I don't think
push
so.
like I think there's just a blatant fact that Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character is awful. Like she's written bad. I don't
Right, right, yeah, yeah. It has nothing
and
to do
I
with her. It's just how
no,
her character is written.
I just don't like her character at all. So um I feel like usually in these we talk about the things that we enjoy, and then we talk about the stuff that we don't enjoy. Is how we've been doing it. So
Yeah. So I think
yeah,
yeah,
you go ahead.
me, okay. I was
Yeah.
just gonna say that I think the safe thing to go with is before spoilers. I think the safe thing to say is um we don't think it's a waste of your money if you like the Indiana Jones movies, if you've liked them in the past, and you even didn't really mind Crystal Skull, then go see this movie. If you like this stuff, you're not. It's not like it's going to be wildly different than those movies. It's just certain themes and certain scenes and certain pieces of dialogue are a little more harder to process and a little more uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, it's still an Indiana Jones movie, and if you like it, go see it. Make your own opinion, because there's going to be people out there that are going to see this and they're gonna love it. They're gonna think it's the greatest movie that they've seen this year, and other people are gonna go see it and wish they could forget it. It's just
Yeah.
how it is out there. But the way after, I mean, after our immediate reaction to it, like after we left, it caused a lot of discussion.
Yeah.
Because Adrian and I watched it, we all saw it together, so we had a lot of discussion about it. But at the end of the day, I never thought like, well, what a trash movie. What a garbage thing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, I agree with that.
but
It's funny, like we left the theater and we're like, yeah, it wasn't like I really was expecting to hate it. I've been joking about like how much I'm
yeah, me
going to
too.
hate it.
Yeah,
And we left the theater and we were like, okay, like it's a movie. It's not the leading into it.
yeah.
The way I had heard about the movie is I heard that Indiana Jones is this old guy. He can't do anything on his own anymore. And Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character has to like babysit him and change his diapers and all this stuff. I didn't get any of
Right,
that.
right. No, not even a
Didn't get
little
any of
bit.
that. No. No. And there was a lot of times in this movie where like she would say something and Harrison Ford would be like, no, no. But to the opposite end of that, there was a lot of scenes where like she was kind of like the new hot shot, like archaeologist, where like she knew
Oh,
about
sure.
certain things or she could read this language or you know, and like okay, like whatever.
Yeah, I mean, really, I think what maybe people are overthinking is they're not making her the new Indiana Jones or making her be better than him. They're just playing to his age. He's old. He
Yeah.
forgets things. He doesn't. He's not. It's like time has moved on. But the thing is, I felt like they go back and forth with each other.
Mm-hmm.
She gets a leg up on him because she remembers this thing. 10 minutes later, he gets a leg up on things because he knows something that she doesn't know. Like
Yeah.
perfect example is they argue about the translation of the dial thing or whatever that thing was,
No, the tablet.
the wax thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. They argue about what it's going to be, what language it's going to be. Okay, great. She ends up winning the bet. But beats earlier, he was right about the bubble gum, and she didn't know anything about it and thought he was stupid for doing
Mm-hmm.
it. So it's like, sure, she
Yeah.
gets up, it's like, but it was a back and forth thing. I didn't feel like it was
Well,
like she's always right and he's always wrong.
the thing about the tablet too specifically was that like she could read the language, but she had no idea that there was like a key inside it,
Right.
and he did.
That's true.
So you, like you said, there's this back and forth kind of thing. It's not this one-sided thing where Indy's like, oh well, this is how it used to be, and she's correcting him as like a younger person. He's saying like, no, you're wrong. That's not how that is anymore. Like I didn't feel that at all.
No. Nope. Yeah, it really doesn't happen.
No. And other than like, so here's the thing. Here's a question for you. Do you think that was their plan? Do you think that they were trying to make her like the new Jones? Moving forward.
The thing I said to you when we left is after thinking about it even more, this film feels heavily reshot, rewritten, re-edited, everything. And I think there is a different story, and I don't know who changed it. I don't know if it was James Mangold, Steven Spielberg, Kathleen Kennedy, or some other executive producer.
Yeah.
I don't know who changed it, but you can clearly see it feels like certain beats were supposed to happen. This is the path, and then they were like, no.
Well, it wasn't Spielberg. I read that Spielberg hates the ending.
So it makes me think that the ending, he liked what the ending was, and then they went and changed it. They edited what to be what it is.
Makes me think his ending was he stayed. The other thing too that I will say is like we're not like super fans of like Phoebe, and she really doesn't have like a ton of like acting credits under her belt. And I don't know what it is about her specifically, but she's just, for me, she's just not like super likable. You know what I mean? And I don't know necessarily
but they didn't help her. I felt like they didn't help her in this movie because they continually like wrote to her being bad. And it's like, so if you're trying to make me like this person, you're doing a bad job at it.
She has this arc, and it's the writing. It's 100% the writing. And I don't get it. I don't get, like, if you're trying to endear this character to the audience, they do the worst job possible at like endearing a character.
Yeah.
She is completely everything the opposite of what Indy is.
Right.
Completely the opposite. To the point where at the end of the movie, she has this full like 180 switch out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you're just like, where is this coming from? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah. It didn't make any sense. And it felt very hollow. And the thing that was weird is it was like somebody said, okay, we can't fix this stuff, so we're just going to make Indiana Jones say what the audience is thinking.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest experience, because the boat scene that we're going to talk about, right? Mm-hmm. His comment on the boat scene, it's like, why even write it like that? Why write that scene between the two of them like that? If you want me to like her, don't have her do that. And the second thing is when he comments, when he says to her before he gets punched, when he's talking to her, and he says to her like, right, and he says to her like, what am I going back home to?
Yeah. Because obviously they don't, because obviously like they've shown the whole movie like they don't have a good relationship. Like he's not going to go. Yeah. And
it was like, why would whoever wrote it think that her pleading to him would make him be like, oh yeah, because of this relationship we have? It's like there's nothing there.
No.
And he knows it. And that's what makes it even weirder, is like he comments on it. It was
like you said, that's why it feels reshot, because that ending is specifically like changed, like for her character to be the same consistently. Like,
right,
he would have gotten what he wanted, and she would have gotten what she wanted from it.
Exactly.
But that 180 at the end, because now it's an issue of like, what is it? Is it the director saying like, I don't want to leave Indiana Jones dead? Or is it Disney saying, we own Indy and we'll do whatever we want with him in the future? We own him. We own the rights to him. We're not getting rid of him, because maybe in 10 more years, we'll just CGI Harrison Ford into a movie and we'll make our own Indiana Jones movie.
I don't want to say I guarantee it, but I'm pretty sure probably what happened was they filmed it. He dies. they put it before testing audiences. They hated it, and then
Mhm.
they realized, oh, okay, people aren't ready for Indiana Jones to die, and they reshot everything.
Yeah, I can see that 100%. Yeah, I can see that. It's sad because like there's a lot of parts in the movie where it is sad. Like nobody
Yeah,
wants
yeah,
to
yeah.
see their heroes old, you know?
Right, right.
Disney's already ruined. They've already ruined Mark Hamill's,
Oh,
Luke Skywalker. They've already
Luke
ruined it.
Skywalker. Yeah,
So
yeah,
now
yeah.
so now you have Indiana Jones, and now it's like, are they gonna ruin Indy or what? And it's like it kind of feels
Yeah.
like maybe they do a little bit. I don't know.
I
But it
honestly
just
feel like I feel like him and the other older characters, like the actors, are the only people in the thing that are still true to themselves. I feel
yeah.
like everybody else in the movie is are just like crammed into it.
Yeah.
Other than the
So
villain, obviously, Mads Mikkelsen is really good.
oh,
In the movie,
yeah,
so.
but it's so funny that he's not even on our radar to talk about because Matt Mickelson is so great that it doesn't matter
Yeah, he's
what the
totally
movie is.
fine.
He
He's easily the most
and
egregious character in the movie, and he's wonderful.
yeah,
So,
but honestly, even Harrison Ford in the movie is great.
oh yeah, yeah,
Like he's great. He's still great. He still can act. He still does a lot of like stunt stuff here and there. I mean,
yeah,
he's in great shape for being as old as he is,
yeah.
and it's cool.
He's
85.
literally he's 80. He probably filmed it when he's 80,
Mm.
which is not it's nuts.
Yeah,
He's
that's
81
crazy.
right now, but still,
That's crazy. Yeah, that's nuts.
that's crazy.
All right, so we'll do full spoilers going ahead. So the movie opens, and that was the other review that I had heard, is that like the first 20 minutes of the movie are great, and it's like what
Yeah,
the movie should have been. And yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, so it opens with de-aged Harrison
I also
Ford.
feel like the last 20 minutes of the movie is also very excellent.
There are parts of the last 20 minutes that are like, yeah, like kind of surprising and very like nice to
Right,
see.
right. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's
But
so
yeah,
he's searching for
opening
that
20.
dial. No, he wasn't. He was searching for that dagger.
Yeah, he was trying to stop them from getting the dagger, the Nazis.
Yeah.
So this
Which
is
is
at the
funny.
conclusion. Yeah. No, yeah, go ahead.
It's just funny that like the movie's about the dial of time, and the movie opens with him trying to find the spear that pierced Jesus. So it's like
Yeah,
he's looking for something completely different.
that's completely different. Yeah. Yeah, it was. So this is like at the end of World War II. So
Mm-hmm.
you get a nod to Crystal Skull. Then they refer to him. I thought they referred to him being a colonel. I thought so. So
Yeah.
do you get like a little? You're kind of honestly, you're seeing things that he talked about in Crystal Skull, like that he was doing stuff during the war.
Yeah. Well, yeah, which is cool, which is what
So
we were
because all the
saying.
other movies take place, yeah, because all the other movies take place like I think just before they invade Poland or right around the time they invade Poland.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it hasn't really happened yet. But yeah, it's really cool, honestly. It was really I think it was well done.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of complaints from this part of the movie too, saying that like the de-aging CGI like is kind of like Uncanny Valley, and they didn't like
It's a little
it
janky, but I
is.
mean, what do you want? What do you
I don't
want? I
know.
mean,
No, I
like
don't know. They didn't take the time to like de-age his voice, which I did catch
right,
on to
which is
that.
a big, yeah, that's a big, yeah. There's something
But
like you
then,
said. There's something with like his mouth and his like eyes that
yeah,
just aren't exact. The rest of it, his like facial hair and the scar and like his brow and his hair, all that
yeah.
is you couldn't
There's a
tell it was a
reason.
different
There's
person.
a reason that majority of that scene takes place at night and in the rain, because you can hide a
Yeah.
lot of that stuff. But I'm fine with that. I think people sometimes are so like critical about that stuff. I even remember like when you see, it's kind of a spoiler for Mando, but when you see Luke Skywalker,
Oh, Yeah.
everyone's like, "Oh, he looks like an action figure." It's like he looks great. Like he looks great, you know.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
don't know. His voice, honestly, the
Plus,
voice
I
was the
think a
only
lot of
thing that
people
stood out
don't.
to me.
Yeah, his voice was really weird. I was just gonna say that I think people don't really understand like what goes into making it look that good.
Well, here, I'm gonna tell you this: the majority of the budget that they spent was on that CGI.
I can imagine.
The de
I
aging
can imagine.
CGI is like it costs a ton of money.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in our other when we get there, but it's the same thing I think about when watching Secret Invasion and they cut back to him as a young guy,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm like, this looks really good too, you know. So
Oh yeah, because
it's a weird.
in Captain Marvel, the whole movie, Samuel L. Jackson is like young.
Is de-aged, yeah.
And he looks fine in that movie. Like
Looks totally fine.
they do the same thing with what's his name there? In Rogue One, the old guy, the Imperial guy, not
Tarkin.
Thrawn, Torkin. And he looks great. And they do
Yeah,
Carrie Fisher in Rogue One too, and she looks great. It's like
yeah,
it's one of those things where it's like obviously like we all know like that's not what they look like, but like
right. Like, what do you want?
the
Like,
rest of the movie is shot in a green screen. It's like that's where you're gonna of all the things in the
right.
movie, like that's the thing that you're gonna pinpoint on. Like, oh well, this CGI looks terrible on his face. Like,
Yeah,
how about
it's like,
yeah,
yeah, I was just gonna say, do you remember like movies in the '90s? Like, let's pull up a thing of like somebody looking terrible back then. Like, it's like things
yeah,
are amazing nowadays. Like, it's okay, it's okay. You like all these movies where the CG is awful, absolutely
yeah,
atrocious, but it's a great movie. It's like, oh well, this thing, his face is a little like, you know, not high def like a face would be. And you're like, well,
yeah.
it's ruined. He looks stupid. And like, get over yourself.
I
It's
mean,
fine.
it's not Mortal Kombat, right? It's not that. It's not that level of CGI. But the thing is like modern day movies are 90% CGI. The whole movie,
Oh.
90% CGI. So it's like,
Speaking,
oh,
yeah, speaking to that, I went and watched like the making of 10 Cloverfield Lane,
oh yeah,
and the amount of stuff in that movie that's CGI is like insane. Like, there's a scene where she's up against the wall with the crutch, and but
yeah.
she's sharpened it in the movie to stab him, and it's not. She's just holding a crutch. It's not sharpened. It's
Well,
nothing. The whole end of the crutch is CGI, and it doesn't
that's
even look like
weird.
it. It's crazy.
If you would have picked a movie, and I would have said that movie's got maybe the ending is CGI when the ship
Well,
shows up.
sure.
The rest of it, I'd be like, why would they use CGI for?
There's so much of it you wouldn't even think is CGI.
That's crazy.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
I remember they showed kind of like that, like in the first episode, like Walking Dead, where when Rick comes out of the hospital, they showed like, okay,
Mm,
here's this scene without CGI, and it's literally just him coming out of this like door, and he just walks up that field, and it's just regular field. But then like they show like everything CGI, and it's like crash helicopters, and you know,
right.
and it's like wow.
Yeah, you don't realize what. Yeah.
No, you don't. So the beginning of the movie, I really enjoy. I like you get
It
to
was good.
meet. It's so how funny is it too that what's his name is in it again in like another Nazi thing, and he's
Oh yeah.
I always forget his
Is
name.
his name like Toby something? Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, what's his name in the movie? Basil.
Something Shaw. Something Shaw. Basil Shaw.
Basil.
So his name is Toby Jones. Yeah.
Toby
So it's funny
Jones.
because he plays Dr. Arnim Zola. Yeah.
Zola. Yeah, yeah. So when you first see him in the woods, I was like, I don't know what Red Skull's up to, but it can't be
And what's
good.
funny, I didn't think about it until later with you.
Mm,
The other guy,
mm.
the other guy is Strucker. Okay, Age of Ultron.
Hmm.
and they're attacking the castle in the beginning part of the thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So the like general colonel Nazi guy that like Indiana Jones has to actually fight on the train
Oh.
is the guy in Age of Ultron who is like
Oh.
experimenting on the twins. And so again, it's
Oh.
like another.
He's the guy. That's super funny. I didn't really I didn't really see him a ton, that the actual Colonel guy in Indiana Jones movie. But yeah, I know who you're
Yeah,
talking about.
it
That's the
wasn't
guy where
until I
he's
was
given
trying to look
the
up.
he's given the speech, right? And he's
Yeah.
like, the Avengers are coming and we're not going to surrender. We're not going to give up. And then he
Yes.
immediately turns to the guy and he goes, all right, so I'm going to issue a full surrender.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I didn't realize it was him either. I was looking up actors in
That's
the
funny.
movie, and then I was like, oh man, wait, that's that guy from yeah. So, but yeah,
That is funny.
to what you were.
And speaking of that, Harrison Ford's playing Red Hulk coming up.
Yeah, I know, right? Isn't that funny?
Isn't that
he's
crazy?
now going to be. Yeah.
So
They're
we just
all
got to get
eventually gonna be in the
Mads
MCU.
Mikkelsen in, because Mads hasn't been
He's
in.
in. He's already in. He's Caecilius.
Really?
Yeah, he's Doctor Strange, bad guy.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, obviously. Wow, that's right. Okay. I haven't seen that original one in a long
What
time.
is your name? Doctor.
That's
Doctors. Right. Mr. Doctor.
Mr. Doctor. Man, okay. You're right. I totally forgot about that. That's hilarious.
Yep.
That is funny. So yeah, the whole intro thing is cool, and how they, he ends up saving Basil from the train, and
yeah,
a lot of stuff that happens on the train that is like, it's like Crystal
Very.
Skull level of things that are like, this is
yeah.
So Mads Mikkelsen's character getting like beamed across the face with that light pole is like unbelievable. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I thought they were later going to be like he had like weird robot parts or like metal or something. I thought like the Silva guy from James Bond, he was going to have like this like metal thing in his face. Like I just was like, oh, when they showed him in the hotel, I was like, okay, let's look at how different he is. And
totally fine. Don't even worry about it.
Totally
I couldn't even give him like a scar or anything, like nothing.
Anything.
They're just like, nah, it's fine. He's fine. But then Indy and Basil
makes
jump
me think,
off.
Rewrite.
Yeah. Yeah. But then Basil and Indy jump off the train, like into that like shallow little stream too. I'm just like,
super.
Okay.
3 times it drops.
And how many times do they play off that the stereotypical thing where like you're on a chase scene on a train and like, oh, there's a bridge coming, you gotta like dock. There was like what, 5 in a row. It's like,
yeah. The only 2 things I liked about it, and the one I shouldn't like because it makes no sense, but I liked it because they don't do that a lot in movies, is when Indiana is on top of the colonel guy and he pushes him into the roof of the
I liked it. Yeah, I like that.
I liked it. Obviously, it would like tear his back like open.
Oh,
but
you wouldn't even be able to hold on to the guy either.
Right.
Like he holds him against like the ceiling. It's like,
yeah,
it would like immediately suck him that way.
Right.
And not them. So here's the other thing too,
cool.
Is like those trains aren't like super fast.
No.
They're
like they're
not super
like 40, 50 miles an hour.
But everything they show, everything on top of the train, it was like, it felt like they were on like a Japanese bullet train. I mean, it was like they were flying.
Yeah.
They were
It was
flying.
almost like Back to the Future Part 3, and he's like, yellow.
Yeah. Yeah, so that whole part was was pretty good. Like we enjoyed. I liked
him dressing up as putting the uniform on and pretending to be a guy.
Mm-hmm.
It was very like Raiders of the Lost Ark and stuff.
Yeah. I like too when he gets caught and he's like, "Why are you even still fighting?" He's like, "You guys lost. Germany's gone. Hitler's hiding. Like,
Yeah.
but then yeah, so then you get to see Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones' last day at school teaching. He gets like,
Yep.
and it was one of those things too. At first, like you and I were like, "Is it like it's sad because like he's old and it's like that's the thing. Like students don't care about history and like he's old and boring now." But it's literally because like
Right.
they're landing on the moon.
Right.
So reading and learning about like the battle of like catapults in Syracuse was like, who cares?
Right.
But I like his perspective too because remember he's talking about the moon. He's like, "There's nothing up there. it's just a big ball of like dust." He's like, "Who cares
Right.
about
Right.
that?"
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
yeah.
Yeah, and it was fine, and I liked how it all played, and her getting reintroduced and being in the classroom was totally fine, and
He didn't recognize her, which was interesting.
yeah. Well,
But
clearly, I
all,
mean, if it was whatever how many years it had passed,
yeah,
yeah, like 10 or
that's
something, yeah.
so right off, right then is when my brain was like, that's when like writing does this thing where it's like, well, no, she has to show up, but it's like, but I'm like, why? Why
Yeah,
now
I
is
thought the
she
same
showing
thing
up looking
too.
for the dial?
Yeah,
It's been 40 years, and now, like the day he's retiring, she's gonna go ask him about the thing that her father was chasing.
right. I think what they needed to do was explain that she was trying to sell it to get bail money or something. Her motives were real
All over the
muddy.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, I
think
mean,
that
she
that's what we were
literally was
supposed to
like,
understand, but they
yeah.
didn't explain it well.
It's like somebody watched Temple of Doom and heard Indy say Fortune and Glory, and they're like, oh, let's do that.
Yeah.
So like her whole character was about Fortune and Glory. She
Yeah.
wanted to sell stuff, and I don't care about that. When she first shows up, I was fine. I was totally fine with her character, and
Right.
I was like,
Right.
what is everybody talking about? Like
Yeah.
she's not like amazing, but like she showed up and I was just like
It was fine.
totally fine. And
Yeah.
then after the cafe scene, she knows that like people are like hunting her. And she
Right.
literally like locks that door and locks Indy in there, like basically to get killed
Right.
by these Russians. And you're like,
Right.
what the heck?
Yeah. Yeah. It was weird. And it doesn't try to help him out when somehow he gets accused of murder. I don't
No, so
really.
that whole murder story arc it just went completely flat too. I mean, even like at the end of the movie, it like doesn't exist anymore. It was just
Yeah, it
like
didn't even matter, and
they forgot it was
they
even a
didn't
thing.
even. Yeah, I think it was supposed to be a writing beat. Like this is how we explain how however old he's supposed to be in the movie, 70, 80-year-old guy, like is forced to go on an adventure, but it just like it
You know.
didn't play well.
And why was he blamed for murder in the first place?
And see, this is the thing that I think that they were trying to do, and maybe I just missed it in dialogue. He checks the lady's pulse, touches the phone, and
Yeah.
calls the operator, and then there's blood on the phone, and perhaps his fingerprints are in the blood.
Not at that time period.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Fingerprint DNA didn't even come around till like the late 90s, early or late 80s, early 90s. Maybe earlier
So
than
I
that,
don't
honestly,
know.
but it wasn't a thing back here. Like fingerprints and blood DNA. The OJ Simpson case, they were talking about DNA and like nobody understood what that scientist guy was talking about. They didn't
Oh
understand what
yeah,
DNA was.
no, I know. I just trying to think like his actual like handprint might have been on the phone in the blood, and
Because
somehow they were able to I don't
nobody
know.
even knew he was there. Nobody even knew he was at the school. He went back to the school to like go into the
Right.
archaeology, like whatever,
Yeah.
the
Like the
wherever they store
storeroom
stuff.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he came out and called the police, and they're like, "Oh, that's Professor Jones's voice." Like, what?
Yeah.
That whole thing is like, I don't get it.
I bet you when that scene comes up and there's a reporter talking about the death of the people at the school, there's something in there that we're supposed to be
Yeah.
like, oh, that's how they're pinning it on him.
I do remember the news report
'Cause that-
specifically saying like Dr. Jones.
Right.
I don't know if
Yeah.
they were talking about like it was his last day and he had gone missing. So he's like
I don't
reportedly he's like the person they're looking into.
Maybe.
And that whole scene where he runs out into the street, like New York City street, and like flags down
Oh.
the police officer, and he's like trying to talk to him. They're like, okay, calm down, old guy. Just relax. Just relax. It was so like
Yeah.
it's like, okay, first of all, like if you ran out into the middle of a parade in New York City, the police are immediately
Right.
gonna be on you. Anyway.
Right.
But they're talking to him like he's
Right.
this crazy old guy that got out of a retirement home. And I was
Right,
like,
right,
how
right.
stupid. You got
Yeah.
this
Also,
giant
like, oh,
you got this giant 8-foot Russian guy behind him.
yeah.
That's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. It's like they treated him like, oh, here comes crazy Mr. Jones type of thing. Like, it's like, yeah, I don't know.
I
It
do
was weird.
I did kind of like that horse chase thing though, honestly. Like when I saw it in the trailer, I was like, this is ridiculous, but I did kind of like it, to be honest.
Yeah, there were parts of it that I thought were pretty good, and I like honestly. You and I laughed at it, where he gets down onto the track and then
The
hops
subway,
to the other
yeah.
track, and then the other subway's coming. That
I
was
did like
actually
that.
pretty funny.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And then even that
Yeah.
part where he gets on the train and he goes like, can you hold my horse? Like that's like a
Yeah.
classic like Indy thing. It's just funny.
Yeah.
But so here's one thing we haven't talked about, like in mixed into these scenes, right? Is like, so
Oh, okay.
here's the thing they don't explain is it's like Mad Mikkelsen's character clearly is here to help them get to space. So he's clearly like a part of
I think he previously was a part of getting them to the moon.
Right. Well, he
And
worked on that whole thing to help him land.
I believe what is happening, I think, is he helped the government, the United States government, put men on the moon, put whatever Apollo 11 or whatever it is, and now that he did that, he wanted the American government to listen to him so that he could have like funding or something to go and find the dial.
Yeah.
I think that's what was happening.
I think that's what you're led to believe. It's this thing where it's like they didn't want to specifically talk about Operation Paperclip when like United States pulled in all these like German scientists over here to help build like rockets and bombs and all that stuff.
Right.
That's what they're pulling from, but they didn't say it. They never specifically talked about it. So
right.
That girl detective.
Yeah.
The real, yeah. She's there. She's supposed to be like babysitting him. She's like FBI like or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
So, but it's like he has his own goons, and like the FBI or police is just like fine with him having like henchmen, and then they start like killing people in front of them, and she's just like, "I told you not to kill people. Like, what are you doing?" It's like,
yeah.
What? And she's like, "Yeah, your goons messed it all up." It's like, why does he have goons? I don't understand why he has goons. And she honestly became like one of the most pointless characters in the entire movie.
Yeah, especially
now she's with these people that are like known killers and crazy people. And she boards the plane and she's like, "No, we're going back to DC." And he's like, "No, I'm not." And she's like, yeah, you are." And he just shoots her. Okay.
Yeah. It's like, what was the purpose of her?
Nothing. It was to show you how bad he is. He's a bad
guy.
Oh. I almost forgot about
it definitely it wasn't like the whole like it's not like, oh, well, if you were confused about him being a Nazi, if you had forgotten that sequence in the opening part of the movie, how about we really emphasize that he's still awful by him being really cringy, like skin crawly awful to that, like what do they call those guys?
What
like
the heck was that? Yeah, the hotel, like the
like the hotel guy, I can't think of what they're called.
bellhop
Yeah,
or
like a bellhop. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, he literally brought his food and he's like, "Oh, so you happy that you won the war?" And the guy's like,
He did
"No
like
idea
this
what you're talking about."
weird. He did this weird like racist slash
Yeah,
like anti-America
like
thing with
anti-America,
them,
anti like yeah, black. It was like this whole thing. It's like, what? This is
and it
so
was fun. And it was really uncomfortable, but at the same time, you're like, that's the scene to set up. Oh, okay, this guy didn't change. He's still awful.
it's because
He's
you know it's because this is the first time the audience has seen his character since he got his head blasted off by that pipe. So you're like, you don't even know it's the same guy because like that guy's dead, obviously.
right.
It's
That
like
guy's
it's like
clearly
his twin brother or something, like coming for
yeah,
revenge.
yeah. But
Yeah,
that's
that whole
it. Like
thing
that's all
was
you had to do. Get rid of the other the officer or whatever that agent was, and just have that scene, and you're like, oh, okay, he's bad.
yeah. Yeah, that whole thing, that whole storyline is just like, yeah, just kind of whatever.
Yeah, I have a fun long term theory. But I don't know if I should
Mm,
talk about it towards the end
yeah.
or like when it's coming out.
I don't know.
My thing that I and I know there's going to be people out there, maybe none of your watchers because they seem like probably reasonable people, but um,
Not until this one.
this there the thing I was thinking, and it's not like a man woman thing. I was just thinking, wouldn't have it made more impactful sense if it was Indiana? Like Indiana's life is the same, nothing really is changing there.
Yeah.
And instead of Helena being the like sidekick, make it Basil, whatever his name is, right?
Yeah.
And instead of Teddy, make it the girl, make it Helena as a little kid,
Yeah.
and you just go through the whole. You change a couple things here and there, but you let it be that he's so wrapped up in the dial, right? And he figures Indiana didn't throw it out like he asked him to. And he's like, no, I found it. And it's like all this unraveling. He's getting more insane. He's getting more crazy about
Mhm.
it. And then the sequence happens where they find Archimedes' tomb and then they shoot the dad. And Indiana and the little girl now have to escape.
Mhm.
They get on a plane, they chase after, they rescue, they go back in time, they rescue uh, Basil, and then Basil meets Archimedes, and he's like, "Who cares? I'm going to stay here. Look, he's shot. He's like Indy. He's shot.
Yeah.
He's hurt. He's going to die." And he's like, "Yeah, but I when Indiana says the line, I've wanted this all my life." It's like, no, you haven't, dude. This is
No.
the first time you've ever talked about the dial and Archimedes and any of this stuff.
The only thing
It would
you're
have
led
made
to
so
believe is
much more
like
sense.
history, like he wanted to see
History,
history up close.
history,
But yeah, it's a stretch.
and it's like you make it Basil, and all of a sudden it's like no, and then Indiana says to him like, dude, and look at your kid. Like, what are you talking about? You
Mhm.
can't stay here. He's the dialogue to bring him home. He doesn't agree. He punches him, and then it gives Indiana a new look on life. He through his pleading with Basil makes him realize like, oh crap, I should probably try to make something work with Marion.
Yeah.
Right? It makes so much more logical
Yeah.
like story progression
Yeah.
sense.
No, I love that. I love that. But here's the thing, and here's why they didn't, is
Yes.
because
Yes.
that way you
Yes.
do not have a female lead character.
Right.
And that's
Yes.
and I hate to even bring that up, but I mean that is 100% like what the story driving like narrative is. That's why you can't
Right.
have a good that story that you just laid out is it'd be fantastic. It'd be a great indie
Right.
movie. But you have to have this character in it, and just it is what it is. I mean,
It is what it is, but to me, it's like if you're going to make the choice to put her in the movie and make her the co-star, and you're going to make her be the foil to him, you got to make her either
yeah,
likable,
you got to write her well.
right? Just at the end of the day, like you said, you just got to write her well. That's all it's got to be.
She's not. Yeah. Yeah.
When
kind of
so the
late
next scene is them going to the gambling thing, right?
that. So
After
that
he
yeah, and that is in the movie when I. This is when I was like, okay, I get what this movie is now, and I'm
right.
not like I don't care about it. And like to this point, like that part is when it was going
Yes.
off the rails. The
I
like
no longer
auction
like
scene. Yeah.
yes. I no longer liked her. I was like, oh, okay, she's
No.
a con artist and
No,
blah blah
because
blah.
like first of all, she leaves him for dead, and then she takes off without him. And next time you see her, Indy shows up, and he's like, you're not selling my dial. That's mine. Your father gave that to me. And she's like, oh,
Right.
sorry, I'm gonna sell it anyway.
Oh
And it's like
well.
she's
Right.
too
Yeah.
stupid. She's too stupid to realize that she's in this room with all these like crazy, powerful like people. She's so far
Right.
out of her league and depth, it's not even funny. But she doesn't care about that. She still has to like
Right.
give out these quips and these one-liners and tell Indy how
Right.
out of place he is. It's like she doesn't even understand or grasp the situation.
Right.
And
Right.
then
Right.
the Nazis come in.
Right.
And now even then she's like, oh, well, I'm just going to do what I want to do. It's like, what? It's like, what are you talking about? You're so out of your league. It's
Yeah.
not even funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it just became
Yeah.
this thing where it's like, now her and Indy have this like
Yes.
this
Yes.
relationship that
Yeah.
aren't blend. They're not blending. They're not blending
It's
because
exactly how I felt.
even after that, she steals the thing. They get in those little the chase scene, and the
Yeah.
chase scene was fun. Now here comes
Yeah.
this
It was right. Yeah.
fiance mob boss guy that she's been
Whatever.
sleeping with, and she
Whatever.
screwed him over, owes him money, and now it's this whole thing. And it's like, what is going on in this movie? It's like
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
that whole thing, right? The Nazis are after them. She's trying to get away from Indy. Indy's trying to chase her. The Germans are chasing her old fiance, and his goons are chasing them. It's this whole thing. It's like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, I didn't understand the myth why they wrote that to her. I don't know why they were like, oh well, you have to have this other thing happening too.
It's just insane. It's
Just make
insane.
it
And
people
then
from the auction. Just make it people from the auction
yeah,
are mad.
yeah.
That's all you had to do.
Well, you got to
You didn't have
show
to be
that
like,
you got to show her life is crazy, right?
I
That's
guess.
why she's selling the dial, the thing that her father
Yeah.
cared about, because she's got a lot of stuff going on. Indy even says this quip to her too when they're like chasing, and he says something about her life, like what is going on in your life or something, or how are you, why are you this way? And she's like, oh, what, beautiful and smart. And it's like, okay, really? That's what you got? That's what you're getting out of this situation? I don't think that's I don't know about
Yeah.
that. It's like it was just crazy.
Yeah.
That whole auction thing and chase thing. It's
It was nuts.
insane. It's insane. It does nothing for the
Yeah.
story. It doesn't endear you to whatever her name was. Her name Elena, Helena,
Yeah.
Helena.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of Asgard. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't do anything. And
Yeah.
then the other thing too is like her having a short round character was just like, are we really doing this again? Like, are we really?
Yeah. It was like good and bad. It was like good and bad at the same time. Yeah.
So when Indy goes into the auction, you see that kid, and he's like that like pilot is like telling him how to
Oh,
like
he's like,
go on the control. Did you think in that moment that was going to be like he was going to fly a plane before the movie was over?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was kind of like, this is a little telling. When they were just showing it, if they just were like looked at it and did it, but for him to like cut back and then he's like, no, you got to pull this thing and do this thing. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
they're
Got
gonna
it.
make this
Okay,
kid do
great.
something.
That'll come in when they really need it the most. Yeah. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I didn't
But I
super
hung in
love.
there.
Yeah,
hung in there.
Yeah, I was biting my tongue. I was biting my tongue at that point. Right. So then
Yeah.
after that, then they meet
Oh,
Poos. No, what?
we
What
did
are you?
skip. We did skip a really excellent
Oh no.
cameo. We were sad about what happened,
Oh,
But
yeah.
we were really happy that Salah
Oh,
showed up
yeah.
again.
Okay, so here's another point where like I got like
Yeah.
outwardly mad at this point. Because like Salah shows up and you're
Yeah.
like, oh great, Salah finally you're getting to see him because you see him in the trailer because that's all they had in the trailer to show you.
Right. Yeah.
So he shows up and he takes Indy to the cab, and I'm like, is he driving cabs in New York City? Is this what they're doing? Is this literally where they're going with the story? And he does,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what? I'm like, what the frick is going on? There's like, so he's driving.
It
So
was pretty rough.
obviously he'd be driving a cab. Why wouldn't he be driving a cab? He's Middle Eastern. And I was just like, this is so stupid.
Right. Yeah.
This is so terrible.
Yep.
And at least they explained it a little bit, right? Where Indy helped get him and his family out of Egypt, like during the war.
Yeah.
He could have had any other job.
Right. And it's literally anything.
But it's one of these things where it's like, it makes me mad because, you know, like you have to have a strong female character and you can't, you know, all that stuff. But then you can be racist. You can write racist characters.
Wouldn't it have made more sense if he was like, Indy got him over and he got him to work at like the airline. And that's how he got onto the plane. Because they're like, hey, aren't you the guy who murdered somebody? We're kind of vetting people here at the door. I know 1969 wasn't as crazy as
no
the TSA,
TSA
is now,
no marshals, no nothing.
But at the same time, if you just had a scene where it's like Salah used to work for the airlines, so he used some sort of connection to get him onto the plane so he could fly, would have made a lot more sense instead of him being like, no, I drive taxis, so I'm the guy who drives you there. Like, oh, cool.
Cool. Anybody could have done that. Even a friend could have done that.
Right, exactly.
Stupid. Well, it's like it's literally like you can see the writers or producers be like, well, he's either going to drive a cab or run a deli. I don't know what helps the story. Well, a cab would help him because that's a car.
Wouldn't you have liked it a lot more if he had? Would you like this scene a lot better if he was like, he's getting onto the, what do they call it? What's the tube that goes onto the plane called? What's that called?
Oh, the loading runway or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
boarding tube.
Boarding tube. We're gonna call it a boarding tube. And wouldn't have been cool. Indian is going down it, right? And the police come and they're like, hey, we think like officers who are in the airport see him. And he's on the thing and he does that scene from Raiders. And he's like, oh, very good, very good. He goes, run. Oh no, it's in Last Crusade. And he goes, run, run, run. And he's like, yes, it's right here in the newspaper here. And then Brody doesn't understand, and he's like, run, and he punches the guy in the face. It would have been really funny if in the scene he basically stops the police from arresting Indiana so he can get on the plane, and he says his line, like, give him heck, Indiana, like that, and then he like stops the police from arresting him or whatever. Yeah. It would have been so much better than, I'm an old guy who drives a taxi, and I'm also.
Well, the thing is too is like Salah. Anytime Salah ever showed up in the movies, it was always because like they were at like a dig site or they would dress up and like blend in, you know. So something like that, like another callback of like blending in or dressing up.
Yeah, I like that they did have. They wrote into it that he said, "I brought my passport," so like Salah was ready to go. He didn't care. Which was cool. I like that he wasn't like afraid to go with him or whatever. He was like, "No, man, I'm going with you."
So. Yeah, I really did like that. Yeah, it made me sad too because then Indy's like adventure's over. Like our days of adventure over. You know, we're not doing that stuff anymore.
Right.
And again, it just reminds the audience like, why are we here? So that was great. That was a great cameo. I always loved that guy. I love seeing him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they get out to the boat, right? After the auction, so they get out to the boat. And the captain is a Puss in Boots.
Yeah.
And that was cool.
That was very cool. I was happy to see him.
That whole thing, I really enjoyed that whole
all of it.
Like him on the boat and then they deep dive.
I liked the guys like interacting with Teddy like on the boat and like showing him things. I liked all that stuff. Like it was, I don't know, it was cool.
Yeah, I really liked it. I really liked they dive down to like the ship that was sunken, and all the eels.
Yeah.
It was really good. But when they first brought that scene up, and he's like, "Oh, there's lots of eels," and Indy's like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, because they're like snakes in the water." It's like, so you had to have eels because they're like, they're going in the water.
Oh yeah.
You have to have snakes, because there's no other part in this movie where they could have had snakes. It wouldn't have made sense.
But you know what? Honestly, other than that line, they don't. It's funny that they don't really do it. He gets more freaked out about bugs than snakes in the movie.
Yeah, what the heck? Yeah. But I really liked that. I liked the eel thing when like his tube gets like stuck around the ship part there, and he had to like go back like through all of the eels. I was like, man, this is pretty cool actually.
It was a really cool scene. I mean, honestly, when do we ever see Indy and Jones like underwater? It was pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah, it was pretty cool. But then we get to the part. Then we get to the part where what's Mad Mikkelsen's character's name? Do you remember? I can't remember what it was.
Something with an H, I think.
Fun Hugsen Steifenstein.
I think he was called Führer 2, I think is what his name is.
Führer, the Führer dos.
Dos. Führer Dwein or whatever it is in German. I don't know. Let's look it up.
What did they call him first? They called him Professor or something, right?
Dr. Voller.
Schmidt.
Yeah, Schmidt. Yeah, Schmidt.
That's what they were calling him before.
He was like, going by Schmidt.
He kills the detective on the plane. He's like, my name is Francis von Vergen Farkensens. Like, oh no. This whole time you were part of the
she's like,
acclaimed Farkensens.
Her face. Yeah, no.
Oh no. If I knew you were part of the Farkinsons, I would have never agreed to this.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's just like, what? Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So he shows up. He shows up to the boat, and he, the thing that he said out of this movie, the thing that the bad guys love doing in this movie is they love shooting people for no reason, and they love throwing people in vans. That's like their go-to every scene. They're doing that. So they show up on the boat and immediately start killing people.
Yeah.
And so they do this whole thing on the boat, and then Helena goes along with it, and she gives him like all this information from that tablet and like tells him the whole thing. She could have just made up whatever she wanted to because he can't read it, but no, she's got to tell him.
Right.
Got to tell him the whole thing. And then she shows Indy like, oh, I have dynamite in my pocket. Like, okay, great. That's very helpful. A stick of dynamite in a boat. Very helpful.
Yeah.
And then he shoots
I know. I didn't see that coming at all.
He shoots him right he shoots him in the knee.
In the knee, I think.
Yeah. And then he was gonna get up and like fight, and then he just shot him dead. And you're like, what the heck, So whatever, she blows up the bottom engine of the boat, and then they get away on the boat. And she's like, there's a scene where like they're on this boat getting away from the bad guys, and she's like super excited and laughing like maniacally. And Indy's like, my friend was just murdered. And she's like, oh, sorry.
Yeah. It's a really, really weird thing to write. It's really, really weird.
It's just, it's like unbelievable. Yeah.
It's a thing okay, that scene plays out and you and I as audience members feel that way. Right? Okay, that's just our opinion. Oh, well, we didn't like that she laughed in that scene. That's very disrespectful and stupid. But to have a character in the movie say what you're thinking.
Yeah.
All it does is be like, oh,
this was stupid.
Horrible.
Yeah.
She's disgusting. It's literally what that does.
Yeah.
It's
the writing is bringing out the fact that like, yeah, this is a terrible character. We know it, but we want you to love her. Like I don't,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to.
Right.
Well, how did that ever
Yeah.
reach like the editing floor and be like, I like this. I like this part where Indy is like like gut wrenching. Like my friend was just murdered.
Right.
Like I didn't come here to go
Yeah.
on this stupid adventure with you. I came here to get the dial
Yeah.
back and tell you that you're doing something stupid. And now here I am. And now my friend is dead because of you. And she's
Right.
like, oh,
Yeah.
sorry. It's like I like visibly, like we were in the theater sitting there and
Me
that scene
too.
happened. And Indy's like, my friend's been murdered. And I was like, yeah, no kidding. Like out loud, I was like mad. I was like so mad. I was like, what the heck? Like it's just so stupid.
It's so weird. It's so weird that they did that. You didn't even have to do it. You didn't even have to say it. If you wanted to be likable, just have her like turn around and just start like crying, or I don't know, like, or just be like, I can't believe
Yeah, I
we
mean
would
it's
die
like
too, or whatever.
it's one of
I don't
those
know.
it's one of those
Anything.
things, right? Where like she didn't know the guy.
Anything but literally making fun of it.
She didn't know the guy, and she was kind of on an adrenaline run because like she gotten away from the guy and it's like her plan worked, whatever. Like that, okay. But like
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
it just shows like you have this character that just doesn't care about anybody but herself and money. And it's
No,
like
no.
I don't, nobody likes characters like that ever in anything. You know?
Yeah, I don't
Maybe the
I don't
Wolf
get
of
it.
Wall
I
Street.
don't I
But
honestly don't get it. It just doesn't make any sense. Nobody likes him in that movie either.
no. Well, it's just because you know what it is because everybody likes him. So you like that character because you know because he's great.
I do think at the end of the day, you still don't like him either. But yeah,
No, no, you don't. No, you don't. So then they get off the boat. So then now they're in wherever they are, Sicily. Are they in Sicily?
Sicily, I think. Yeah.
So they're there and they're
I
just
think so.
like, this is so fun. Isn't this like what I was just talking about in a previous episode where I was telling you about the thing I hate in movies the most is when they're being chased by somebody or something bad is happening and they say, okay, but hold on. Let's like talk about this a little bit. Let's break it down. Let me go buy some new boots. Yeah. Yeah. He's like, which way are they going? Oh, they're going that way. Oh, you know what's over there? Sicily. Sicily's that way. That's where they're going. Well, literally, they stop. She buys a whole new outfit. She's got to buy a spelunking outfit now. So she's got to buy this new outfit. The kid goes off and buys ice cream, pickpockets, all this stuff. And now it's like, oh no, they're already here. They're already on the island. It's like, oh my God. And then they throw the kid in a van and they shoot people. Got it.
Yep. Yeah. And they got to go chase after the kid.
Well,
And
that
we
was
get
the
our
one funny
first-
thing. That was the one funny thing too, because
Yeah.
like it's fun. It almost kind of felt like Indy was getting his revenge because she's like, "Oh no, short round 2 has been captured," and he's like, "Yeah, they're not going to hurt him. They're not going to hurt the kid. Let's just go over here and we'll see if we can find the entrance to this cave." So Indy's like, "I hope they kill that kid. I hope they shoot that. I hope you feel how I felt."
Yeah.
Like, nah, I wouldn't even worry about the kid. I wouldn't even worry about him.
I was gonna say we have our first whatever you want to call it, like
Yeah.
history puzzle.
So an hour and 40 minutes into the movie is the first time they go into like a ruin.
Yeah.
And I love that stuff. Even in Crystal Skull, remember
Did
we
you
talked
really
about,
like the echoing scene? Did you really love that?
Yeah, that was so good. It made me want to refilm some of our indie stuff. The echoing thing was cool. Honestly, like that was kind of cool, but like them two doing it like over and over was just like we got it. Got it.
Oh man. Just made me laugh because they did it the first time and I was like, oh, okay,
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's a cool sound effect. Oh,
And they
neat.
walk
And then it
like
was
3 feet more.
Okay.
Bum, 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 bum. It was so ridiculous. Yeah. But then you get a call back too. I like Indy. He
Oh, climbing. Yeah.
yeah, climbing the thing is funny. And he's like, yeah, I don't know why I'm here. Like, my back hurts, my shoulders hurt, and I'm climbing this rock face.
I've been
He's like,
shot like 19 times
I've
or
been
whatever.
shot, I've been forced to drink the blood of Kali. I've been it's like,
Yeah.
oh man. Yeah, that's right.
The,
Indy's
honestly,
good
the best part-
adventures.
also, the thing that made me laugh in that scene, and I really liked it, and it probably wasn't supposed to be as funny as it was, is he's like, yeah. He goes, even your father shot me. And she's like, your father shot me. He goes, don't talk to me.
I did like that, yeah. He's like, stop talking to me, just keep climbing. Yeah. And then the sulfur pit was kind of cool in that chamber that they went into.
It was funny. Adri said I had to do the like, oh, he's Indiana Jones. I had to do that to her. She leans over to me and is like, why is she hacking up a lung but he's totally fine? And I was like, because he's Indiana Jones.
His lungs are gone. You got to remember,
Yeah.
he's been in 1,000 tombs his whole life. This is the first time she's been anywhere.
That's true.
And it's funny they're trying to write this like empowered female character, but the first thing she does, right, is she goes and tries to open up this door. And Indy's like, you see all these dead bodies in here? I bet you they all tried the door too. I don't think the door works. You don't think that their first thought would try the door?
Yeah. No.
But that was cool. The water displacement thing was cool. Like putting
it was really cool.
Yeah.
It seemed like they were going to say something too, because when he slides and she gets up and walks away, it seemed like he was going to be like, "Well, that was fun," but he didn't say anything. He just he just cut to them like in the next thing, and I was like, "Okay."
He said something degrading, so they had to cut it.
Yeah. You're so stupid.
Yeah, the door. You can try the door, moron.
Maybe he was going to say something like, my friend Willie is smarter than you.
Yeah. So then I'm trying to remember now what. So then I think they go into that
They go
chamber,
in and they find
right?
the tomb. Well, they go to the bug corridor, and then they find
the old bug corridor.
Yeah, and then they find his tomb.
Indy! Oh my god! Yeah, there's gonna be 2 dead people in here.
Yeah, I tell you, that was cool. You and I both looked at each other in the theater because that was a cool beat. Was when they find the tomb of Archimedes and he sees the wristwatch. You and I were like, "Oh, that's actually really cool."
Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But it's even cooler when they call it back. Although they
then when they
give him the watch back though. I think that's a continuity.
I think he takes it off. What's his name?
Yeah, but he gives it back. He hands him the dial and the watch is on top to Indy at the end.
Oh.
So again, rewritten. Forgot that was even a thing. Now here we are. Yeah. Unless unless after she sucker punches him, she throws him the watch and takes the dial and takes Indy and leaves. But I don't know. Yeah, I didn't see that, so I'm not saying that's what. Honestly, to me, the dial, like as far as like a prop, like a movie prop, is like super cool.
Yeah,
the whole thing where it turns, and I told you it reminds me of Nathan Drake's like sphere thing that his ring goes in and turn like Drake's.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. But this is when you said you're like, all right, so what is the dial really going to do?
What? Right, because it's not going to do what?
Yeah.
Right.
And it kind of did, but it kind of didn't.
Right. Well, the thing is, it's like you look at it, it's like the Ark of the Covenant is supposed to give you like, you're going to commune with God and God's going to side with you. And instead, it's supposedly God or something that murders everybody. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Like the stones didn't do anything but glow. They didn't do anything but glow in the movie. Like he gives it back to the village, but you don't see anything happen.
Yeah.
And the Grail, like, he doesn't die from drinking it, and his dad's wounds are healed. So in theory, it did what it's supposed to do.
It restores his wound, but it doesn't give him eternal life.
Right. And the crystal skull. I don't know what they originally thought it was supposed to do, but I guess give them infinite information, which it does, but it kills them. So it's like, or kills her.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So it's always the issue is the relic is not always. It's weird and it's always something, but it's not quite what people are. The reason why they're doing it. It's always like there's a catch. So I knew. I said, okay, so what's it gonna do? And I thought it was gonna be a thing where like it basically would only open up and like dinosaurs would end up eating him or something like that.
That would have been great.
I literally thought I didn't think they were going to get in a plane. I thought they were going to go to like another part of like the tomb chamber, and this portal was going to open, and then like dinosaur was going to come out and like kill Schmidt, and the thing in Indiana was going to be like run, and then you know the time thing is closed, and it's like wow, whew, whatever. That's what
That
I
would
thought
have
it was
been
going to
cool.
be. Not all of a sudden they get in a plane and then they're flying into the clouds, and it was like I said that Adri later. I said that is the first time that when they interact with the relic, that the sequence is longer than like 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you're right.
Like they interact with the relic, and now it is like a chunk of the movie is now you're dealing with the outcome of dealing with the relic. And I honestly, for all the issues I had leading up to that scene, him getting shot, I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, right.
Here we go.
Well,
all
that's
the stuff.
When he got shot, I
Yeah.
originally was thinking that like the dial of time, what it was going to do is like you would be able to use it and like turn the dial backwards, and it was going to like
That would make
restore
sense.
and pull the bullet out from like moving
that'd
time
be
back
cool.
or something. But it was funny. You and I both were kind of like, I really kind of hate that this is so cool at the end, like this, like them going into like the Battle of Syracuse. We're like, why is this? This does no right to be like so cool.
It was really, really good. I didn't think I was going to care as much as I did when they showed Archimedes. I was like,
it was cool.
This
I was like, oh my
really
god,
awesome.
So they show that guy working in his shop. And I'm like, oh my god, that's Archimedes. That's pretty sweet. You also get to see like Smith's actual like goal. This is the first time he's like talked about like what his whole thing is. And it was always assumed that like he's gonna go back and like prevent this, or like be the first one to know about this thing in history, like so that they can give the upper hand. But his whole thing is like he's gonna go back and kill Hitler and become Hitler. Like, that's dedication. It's like, yikes.
Yeah.
And then then he opens up that box of all his like Nazi uniform and everything, and like all this stuff been like saved in his trunk. It's like, I'm like, oh my god.
I'm so happy.
When he puts it on, you're just like, yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a Nazi. Because he looks so fine. Too,
I felt bad for Mad Mikkelsen because it's like a thing where it's like he does it so good, and you're just like, Like that man had to sit down and be like, I got to look at these guys. I got to research Nazis and know how to act. And, it's just like,
I'm afraid your friend Hitler was really my friend Hitler. Yeah. Yeah, that was crazy. Like him wearing that full like suit, like in modern day too. It's not even like it's like it's a like historical thing. It was very much like, it's like, and you're like, oh, he looks so much like an actual Nazi. Like I hate that he looks good in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to mention that like him like filming the movie too, that like now he just has to walk around set like in a full Nazi uniform.
Right.
It's like, oh.
Yeah.
But so here's the thing too, like when they do go to the Battle of Syracuse, the plane like immediately like flies down and goes like over the top of the ships, and just like, why would they fly over the top of the ships? And it took them so long to realize what was happening, and that I really like that scene before they go through the portal, And Indy's like,
Oh, yeah.
Archimedes wouldn't have known anything about like continental drift or like space-time
Right.
drift or whatever he says. He's like, your dates are wrong, your
Drift.
your input's wrong. Yeah. And they come out and they're like,
Yeah,
oh
and
yeah,
you
we
and
told you.
and to that point, even Indiana is wrong. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like a thing where he did
Mhm.
mess it up. It's like, no, it just is like it's clear that Archimedes was using the dial to contact the future so that people from the future could come and help the battle.
Yeah, what a crazy concept that is.
Yeah. Like he literally did it so that the siege of Syracuse would like the Romans wouldn't win, essentially.
It's cool on paper.
Yes. Yeah.
But so yeah, it's cool on paper, but what it actually would happen is like, well, first of all, if you believe that like time periods are still like, linear, not like branching.
Right.
We've seen so many things with time travel now that like it doesn't, you can't go to the past and fix it because then you cease to exist, or it's this whole
cease to
thing.
exist. Yeah.
But here's this thing. So Archimedes builds this thing to help specifically for this war. Now he gets it built and has to wait. So like the war's over,
Right.
he's still alive or he dies or whatever.
Right.
Doesn't matter. Thousands and thousands and thousands of years go by. So they can come back and specifically help at that point in time. Like it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird thing.
Yes.
Like it doesn't make any sense, but it's cool. It was cool to see Archimedes. And even at that point, we still didn't really know we thought they got the time input wrong. They were at the wrong era.
Right.
And when Jones says, like, I didn't ever picture him like meeting you. And he's holding the dial and he's like, if you found this, you were always going to meet me. Because like this is what it does. It brings you to me. It literally brings you here.
Yeah.
You're like, oh. But when Archimedes goes to the crashed plane and he takes the watch off,
oh yeah,
Mitt, you're like, oh, I was like, oh my God. It's the watch that he was wearing in his like that. That is super cool. That to me was like super cool. Yeah, I really like that.
Well, you cut out a little bit. What was the thing you liked when he went to the plane crash?
Oh, so when he goes to the plane crash and he takes the watch off of Schmidt, and it like ties in that like this was the watch that was in like on his corpse in the like really cool.
Yeah, it was cool. The ending was too that like relic ending scene was too good for the movie because at that point you're just like you're hanging. It was like Crystal Skull. You're like, I don't hate it. It's not that good, but it's fine. It's fine. I'm not going to hate it for the rest of my life. I'll probably watch it some other time. It's fine. But then that happens, and you're like, well, what the heck? Like, what is happening? Like, what is this movie now? Like, they've never done anything like that in Indiana Jones movies. Like, they made it like legitimately cool.
Yeah. So I guess like we were saying, like that was kind of the gimmick of the relic was like it only went one way, and it only went to Archimedes the battle.
Yeah, that's the catch. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like if that portal wasn't still open, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked the other way.
Yeah. I do wish. I think I said it to you at the theater. I do wish that when he was like showing the college kids like pictures, like the renderings of it, if there was some sort of like, not even like maybe the audience couldn't really quite get it. I wish there was some sort of reference to like Indiana Jones being in the past.
Yeah, that would have been kind of cool.
Because they talked about dragons briefly, which obviously was the planes.
Yeah.
But I just wish that there was something else like Archimedes
had like
spoke of
a Nazi symbol or something on something.
Yeah, I think it would have been interesting if it's just like it's recorded by such and such apprentice of Archimedes that the dial did work and he met he had met people from whatever. Like he knew it worked.
It's
He had
one.
met another scientist or something. Where you don't really
It's
give him you don't make the audience think it's Indiana. You just think it's some other, it's history.
one of those things too, where it's like Archimedes knew that the dial worked, and then therefore like would have known like not to talk about it
True,
because he
Like,
literally
ooh,
like broke it.
mm.
He literally like took it into two pieces.
That's true. That's a really good point. I didn't think
So
about
he
that.
so he knew it worked, but then it was like determined to like I don't know, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
So he makes it. So he continues to make it because he knows he has to make it in order to know they're not going to help him. They still lose. So
Yeah, so moving forward, yeah. So moving forward after that encounter with Indy, he still builds the dial knowing
still
that these
builds.
people are going to come back and not help him win the war.
Correct.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
But I think he then is now you're under the illusion that he builds it initially to help win the siege, but then he must go forward building it because he wants the satisfaction of knowing that it works.
Maybe that's why he splits
Type
it
of
too.
thing.
Like he
Yeah,
wouldn't have
and then
split it. He wouldn't have split it if he didn't meet Indy.
yeah, right. Yeah. I also like that they didn't just make him like some crazy villainous person. Because that's the other weird thing too, right? Like the alien. It's like why did the alien have to be malevolent? Like why did he have to be evil and awful and then give her that like face? Like why? Why did that have to happen? Like could have just been fine. It's like, oh, they were nice and they made us farmers and they did us so many nice things. And then it was just like, burn them, kill them.
It's true. Yeah, Archimedes should have just showed up like, you thought you had unlimited power and time. You came to my time. You loser.
Kill him.
Kill him. Shoot him. Shoot him. Strap him to the cannons.
I do think it would be pretty hard to want to kill him when they're all like, "Oh, you wonderful genius, beautiful, glorious man." It'd be pretty hard pressed to be like, "I think these people need to die." Yeah, I did like though. Did you like? I thought they were just going to be like and show him things. I liked that they spoke what was it, like Greek or something to him.
Greek,
I don't know
yeah.
exactly what it was, but I really liked that they actually like spoke to him. Maybe it was Italian. I'm not sure, but anyways, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I can't remember.
But
That
yeah,
was cool. So yeah, so like we've been saying, originally it seems like Indy was gonna stay in the past because he like was begging
Yeah.
to just like have Helena like leave him there.
begging. Yes.
And she punches him and knocks him out and like drags him back to the past.
Yeah, to the future, back to the future.
That's true. Wow, that's true. Wow. Yeah. So I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like I always kind of like the idea of just like in the end of Bond when they decide like, hey, look, so like Bond's not making it out of this one. We're like,
Yeah,
okay, like you stuck to it and you did it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I don't know.
So how would you feel? Here's the scene. So the movie actually ends with him being alive and Marion coming, and they do a callback to Raiders, and you have a really funny scene with Salah like singing with the kids down the hall, which was great.
Yeah.
See, that's the scene. Or you have the scene of Helena returning the dial back to the storeroom at the wherever they were, right? And now she doesn't know this, right? Now somehow, I don't know. I don't have the brain power to write it quickly in 30 seconds, but basically there's a thing showing that Indiana and Archimedes like were buddies. Like Indiana didn't just drop dead. They helped him for
Yeah.
a little bit and then like that's the scene is there's etchings of a man in a hat or Archimedes has a partner or something. I don't know, whatever.
It is cool. It would be cool to see like Indy physically become part of history.
History, right?
Like it would have been a great send off for that character. The thing I will say is historically, it would be completely nonsense. Like now you're trying to write that like Indy was in the present and the past, and he did all this stuff then, and then now all this stuff like nothing got affected by him
Right,
being in the
right,
past. Like the present is fine, and nothing got
right,
like crazy. He just was like
right,
observing history, like being there. He didn't like
right,
let anything slip or
right,
I don't
right.
know. So the logistics of that are would probably be a little ridiculous to
Yeah.
like.
I mean, that's one of the things all the fans yell about Captain America going into the past, right? It's like the biggest
Yeah.
hang up that people have is like, well, why? And so people have said, well, you had the writer saying this and the director saying this. So it's like even something as
Mm,
simple as that people get upset about. So yeah,
that is true
it's a
because
good
like
point.
like off the top of my head, I would say like, oh well, it's a different timeline,
Right.
but it's also implied that it's not because he's old
Right.
at the end. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And he
that
didn't
is
like
true.
come through a portal unless but we don't see it. Like you said, I don't see that.
Yeah,
So
that's
maybe
true.
he
Yeah,
comes.
he would have. Rogers would have had to go back, stay in the past, and just stay like undetected and unknown about
And do
for like
literally nothing.
decades and decades and decades.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, hey, I know that Loki's going to invade New York. Hey, I know that this terrible thing's going to happen. Oh, I know this
Yeah,
terrible
because
thing's going to
because even if he went back and still was Captain America, like he would have been fighting up to present day. Like Hydra would have never like infiltrated Shield, and like all this like major stuff would have never happened.
Right, right.
So he literally had to like go back and just live with Peggy, like live in Peggy's basement and just never leave
Yes.
the house for like 100 years.
Right.
And he loved every minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just
He
danced
got his
every night.
day every night. And then, yeah. Then even though he knew Thanos was going to come, even though after Peggy had died in 2016, he was like,
Couldn't
nope,
do anything.
he can't help these guys out at all.
Stay the course, Steven. Stay the course.
Probably because he knew if he probably knew if he did try to change it, then he would never get his dance. So he just had to just be
True.
like,
Just crying. Just
just
cried for
crying.
40 years. Oh my god. So then that means now it's funny that now we're talking about Avengers now at the end. Wouldn't that mean
Yeah.
wouldn't that mean that at a point in Avengers timeline that there was two Steve Rogers on Earth at the same time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the second he comes back in whatever 2011, 2012, he's whatever. He's like 11 years. Oh, he's 11 for like 11 years. There's two of them on the earth.
But that doesn't oh my god, that doesn't make any sense. Because he wouldn't have been frozen. He wouldn't
I
have been
think he goes
frozen.
back. I think he goes back after he's missing. So
Oh.
he gets frozen, and then
So there's a
he
Roger frozen in Alaska in the water, and then he's living with Peggy.
yeah.
So then the original one gets unthawed, and he's still on Earth, and then that whole
And
time.
oh at that point, let's say he's like in his 80s at the end of the movie. Let's just say I'm sure I can figure out how old he is, but let's just say right.
Yeah.
Then he's only like he's in his 70s when Avengers is happening, basically. Like when he gets de-thawed, like he's in his mid to late 70s.
Yeah. That's hilarious. And when current Steve goes to see Peggy and she's old, like she doesn't say anything.
Right, because she's crazy,
Yeah.
right? She's like losing her mind and stuff. I shouldn't say
Yeah.
she's crazy. She's senile.
So she never lets it slip like, oh, you were with me the whole time, Steve.
Well, they kind of indicate there's a lot of. I remember there's a lot of fan things that they talk about that there's another man, that she's
Hmm.
married to somebody, and there's like another guy, and you never see who that guy is. So
Weird. That makes the whole thing of like her like granddaughter even weirder. Cool. So yeah, so the end of Indy, we get to see Miriam come back.
yeah,
And,
which was
we didn't
nice.
even talk about the mutt thing.
It's too sad to talk about.
It's just too make your dreams come true. He went off and joined the war. And got
Yep.
killed.
He was like, Vietnam is for me, he said for some reason.
Down, down.
Which is really weird because like he's a young person, and then he in Vietnam was like so just divisive. And he was like, you know what? To get
This is
back at
my
my
war.
dad, I'm gonna join this war. The
I
most
think he got
divisive like war.
he probably got killed by Kong over there.
Yeah, maybe he's on Skull Island.
Silver spoon, silver spoon, and hey.
That's maybe what's what we'll get. We'll get a bearded, you know.
He just
Yeah, exactly.
and just ooh.
Yeah, that's what we didn't know.
That's
Right?
my
That's his
canon. I
adventure.
mean, that's his canon event. So that's what
Yeah.
it is.
Might as well.
Wow.
What if what if there's a Vietnamese lore that we're not familiar with, and he's just over there dealing with that relic is real, and that's how it was, and they think he's dead. That's all.
Yeah, I like that.
Listen, when Indiana Jones 6 comes to, and Shia LaBeouf is better and he's got his life together, they'll just bring him back. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, he's gonna go find. Hopefully, he goes and finds Helena and punches her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. We did it.
We did do it.
We're probably
how
the
many
most
times
positive review that you'll hear about this movie.
Yeah. I tell you, I can't tell you how many nights I went to bed or got up and I just thought, is this going to be our podcast of it? Just you and I in silence, just not saying anything because it was so awful. And like
Yeah.
choosing like, do we literally do like a 25-minute podcast about how it just like it's bad, don't see it. It made us sad and we didn't like it and there's nothing to talk about because it's just bad. So
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised how well I shouldn't say how much I ended up like.
Yeah. I think what happened is we went into the theater with such low expectations that by
Like
the time it was over, we were
yeah.
like, so when we left, like what I said, Crystal Skull is here and Dial of Destiny is right about here.
Yeah.
Like for me, like honestly,
Yeah, same.
for
Same.
different reasons. Obviously, there's different reasons that hold them both back.
Yeah.
But they're both there. They're both tied for last.
Yeah. The only thing I could say, because they're tied for me too, but the only thing I could say is that the end sequence of this movie to me beats Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
I'd rather see the end sequence of this movie over and over again than the last 20 minutes of the other movie.
Like we were pleasantly surprised. So like in the movie's ending, he's in the apartment and he's like, "Why did you bring me back? I have nothing here. Like I don't like you. I don't care about short round 2.
Right.
You know, I'm in this crappy part." And then Marion walks in with like groceries and you and I are both like, "Oh my god."
Yeah,
I didn't even expect her to like cameo in this movie. I told you going into this movie, you're like, well, how do you think they're going to cameo that? I was like, they're going to just forget that that's even a thing. They're just going to bulldoze right past it.
right.
And they almost
And they
kind of
did in
did.
the beginning. But yeah.
He had like divorce papers on his like table by his like whiskey.
Yeah. And then you even said when they showed the old like 80s black and white picture of Karen Allen on the
Yeah.
refrigerator, you were like, yeah, don't even use like a modern picture of her, right? Like
No,
he wouldn't
he doesn't
keep
have
like
any.
a recent picture of her.
No, he wouldn't even have like a wedding picture of them two being old. Like, no, just that one that he's had in his wallet since, since he was in the Himalayas. It was so
1930s.
stupid.
Yeah.
It was like so on the freaking nose, that picture. I was like, yeah.
But there she was. And she wasn't even CGI. It wasn't like some other random lady came in,
No,
It was nice.
she was not. No. Yeah, and then Sala comes over and he's telling the kids about the story.
Yeah.
And then they leave them alone to like catch up. And then you can hear like Sulla singing down the hall. And I love that. I love that whole
It was so good.
like callback. And then honestly, the callback too, where he says to her like, how are you? And she says, I hurt all over.
Yeah.
It was like this immediate like callback to when he was like, his elbow doesn't right here, it doesn't hurt.
Right here.
I love that, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
I don't know. Would I rather seen him be stuck in the past and be part of history, or his marriage works out and he gets to like die old and happy?
Yeah. Well, like a literal first. I mean, honestly, she's the only girl to keep showing up, right? So to have it call back to his original love, it's like, what would you rather? And I think at the end of the day, as much as history is who he is, when you really look at the movies, Indiana is more like thrust into things. And it's not like he seeks it out. He's just forced to deal with it,
It's because of his knowledge and his teaching. People always ask him about stuff and say, hey, would you go look for this for me?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Oh my.
As long as the Nazis won't be around.
It's always the Nazis, except when it's the Russians.
It's true.
Actually, it's not always Nazis. It's just majority. Oh, majority of it's Nazis. Because even the
Nazis, yeah.
temple is whatever, like voodoo people.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. They're Indian. They're whatever they are.
I forgot what they call them.
They're just like the palace people.
Yeah.
Monkey brains.
The monkey brains. Chill the monkey brains.
Huh. So yeah.
And how great, before we go, because we always talk about how great like Sala and Brody and all these guys in the other movies are. But honestly, how great was Basil in the thing when he's like climbing up the thing and he's like,
when he was walking up the train. Yeah, that was so good. Yeah.
He was really good in the opening sequences.
I really liked too when he was like his chair was tipped over on the floor and Indy came in looking for the thing and he's like, Indy, is that you? And he's like, what are you doing in the train? And he's like, I was trying to save you. And he's like, now I have to save you. Like now I can't even get the artifact. I love that too when he finds out that spear is a fake. In the beginning, it was really cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll do it. That's our Indy coming to an end. Till the next one, of course.
Yeah, until 6. Yeah. 6 is a nice number. It's better than 5.
Indiana Shaw. And the Kingdom of the Amazonians.
Indiana and the Journey to the Moon.
It'll be something, I'm sure. Yeah. That seems to be the best analogy I've heard was I forget who it was that did a review I was watching, but he said like modern day Disney and Lucasfilms is bringing these old classic like loved franchises from the past and like bringing them back to life. Like they're zombies with no emotion, no meaning,
Yeah.
nothing. I'm like, man, it's pretty good. Sometimes it feels like that, you know.
Yeah, they take these old properties and then try to like put a modern spin on them, and you're like, I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to make them be less
Yeah.
less whatever they were. Like maybe they're a little more understanding of people and places and things, but you can't like drown out what made the movie the movie. You
No.
can't drown it out with all this other nonsense, which is what
No.
happens a lot of times.
It is.
Indiana, honestly, that's the funny thing is it doesn't suffer from that too badly. I know all the critics and everybody else is saying like that is what the movie is suffering from, but it's not. It's not
No.
suffering from a modernization of Indiana Jones. What hurts the movie is they talk too much about him being too old to do things, and they make Helena they write her to be a purposely bad character, but then suddenly you're supposed to be like, no, she's a great character, and they don't write her well,
It
and
doesn't
for
make
that to
any
happen.
sense. Yeah.
If
Doesn't
you
make
if you
any
didn't
sense.
honestly, if they dealt with those issues better and trimmed up some of the dumb stuff that led to nothing, the fiance mob guy, the agent who got shot on the plane, if you just got rid of that stuff and made her a more likable character and talked less about how old he is, the movie would have been fine.
Yeah. If to begin with, if she didn't lock him in there with the Nazis to begin
Yeah,
with, so like left him
right,
to die.
right.
And when he showed up at the auction, if it would have been this thing where she explained to him why she needed it now and why she was up against the wall,
Right.
and they worked
Like,
on
hey,
like fixing it together
yeah.
instead
Like,
of
hey,
like,
stick with me here. Like, I'll show you what I'm gonna do. Like, just hold on. Like, give him a little wink. Like, I know what I understand. Like, just stick with me.
because her character is flawed, and that's fine. Like flawed characters are fine, but she was trying to like
It's too much. Yeah.
she's trying to outsmart and like screw over Indy, who was supposed to be like a family member at
Right.
any opportunity she got. Like that just
Yeah.
makes her an awful, like you said, disgusting person.
I said to Adri, I said, this is the normal story arc. Whatever you introduce them as whatever they are, and then they have their moment of what redemption or like right. It's like, oh, the Volar's a bad guy, and his arc is, yep, he's still bad and he dies. So it's like, oh, she's a bad con man person, and you're like, okay, but on this end, when it goes down here, she's gonna be a good person, right? And it went, no, no, we're just gonna make her still bad and just end up over here again. You're like, oh, okay. They're like, yeah, but don't you like her now? You're like, no, I don't because it still
Yeah.
ended bad. So
Yeah, it's more honestly, it's more like she shows up, right? She shows up
that's
here.
true.
She shows up here. Shows up and you're like, cool. And then she's like, and then it goes down here. Right. And then okay.
Yeah.
Then Puss in Boots gets shot and now she's down here. And you're going here. And then the end, she's like, you can't stay here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's this like
Yeah,
makes no
I
sense.
totally understand.
Makes no sense for her at the end to be like, Indy, who's gonna watch me? If you stay in history, you have to come back. It's like, why would I want anything to do with you? You've been ruining my life since I met you.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, literally when he like I said, when he says, why would I go back? There's nothing. It's like, yeah, there is nothing. Not even you. Not even
no, no, I know.
you. You have to punch him. You have to punch him and knock him out to get him to go back.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Well,
So here's the thing that nobody else is going to know, and Caleb doesn't even know it. Is that just to let you know that the hole that the nerd holes fall into in the beginning part of the intro, it's Archimedes'
it
time
is.
thing.
It always has been.
It always has been. It always has.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right.
Well, that'll do it.
We
That'll
did
wrap
it.
us up. We did it. See you for 6.
Thanks.
All
Caleb,
right.
don't you have to get going on an adventure?
Yeah, I do
Yourself?
actually. Yeah, I got a couple things I gotta look into. So I got my bag right here.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then I got
Yeah, you want to keep all your essential
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
this
exactly.
bad boy right here. Well, so long.
Don't start! Don't start the episode! Don't start the episode!
Not so fast, Dr. Jones.
Will.
Yeah.
Will.
Yeah.
Will.
Oh, yeah.
We gotta start the podcast.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay.
We are about to start the show.